So there was a comment on that video, Why I'm Not Choosing to Publish by Bald Book Geek, that was something along the lines of, not everyone should be published. Now, as I kind of mentioned at the end of my last video, I used to actually be in that camp, and I'm not anymore. I think everyone should try. Everyone should try to get published. Not everyone, though, should be read. And that gets back to my don't validate people, right? But if you put in the effort and you make a book, you should try. Why not? You never know until you try, right? And the bigger issue as to why I think we're saying things like, you shouldn't get published is with the deterioration of the paperback. And the paperback is just the cheap version of the book. It is so much harder to justify reading people's work when you have to pay like $20 for something you know nothing about. And I've heard a lot about like perceived value and crap, and I will get into that a little bit later in this video. But I was thinking about it long and hard because I was realizing like my books were getting lost in the shuffle. Of course they are. Why should anyone try for someone they've never heard of and don't know anything about? And if I'm not even going to spend the $20 on an indie author, which I'm not, and I'm also like kind of against ebooks, but that's like a whole nother rant. Why should I expect anyone to buy my books at the same price? You have no idea who I am. You have no idea what my writing's like. And I've put out excerpts and stuff, but, whatever. People don't always read. So I decided to put my books up for free. I have links down below to a WordPress site where I have The Chaos Child up for free. And I'm currently working on putting up to Private Ford Rayburn. I'm not going to put up the whole book on that one because that is a very old book. But I am going to put up a good chunk of it. And if you really, really like it, I will have links to a storefront where you can buy the PDFs, or you can go to my Lulu shop and do a print on demand of my books. And because I firmly believe these should be accessible and as low cost as possible, I have tried to make it as low cost as possible. So right now, The Chaos Child, I have listed at $10, and that is as low as I can go. I'm sorry. And then to Private Ford Rayburn, it is actually a much, much bigger book. So I have it listed at $15. I think it's reasonable. Check it out. If you feel like it's reasonable after reading the excerpts, check it out as well. But really, I don't necessarily care about the money. I just want people to read my books and enjoy my books. And that's the thing about the perceived value is I hate this term. Because I hate this idea that just because I worked on something, suddenly people like owe me money for it because I worked hard on it or whatever. No one owes me anything. Like, I am choosing to write for myself. If I didn't publish or anything, I would still be writing. This is how I'm choosing to use my time and my effort. You don't owe me money for what I choose to do. It's part of the reason I'm not going down the traditional publishing route is because I know if I went down that route, I would owe them something that I'm not prepared to owe them, which is potentially changing bits and pieces of my book that they don't like, because that's what you do when you have a contract, right? And this is most exemplified, like, look, I have a cover artist. I commission him to make my covers. It is not necessarily the art that he wants to be doing, but I pay him and he does it for me to my specifications. Now, if I wanted you to pay me, right, then I would have to write my books to your specifications. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it for trad publishing. I'm certainly not going to do it for you. I'm doing this for myself. These are what I like to write. I am just merely asking, hey, would you like to read it? And therefore, I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible. So it would be nice if you say, hey, I think the effort you put into this is worth XYZ and pay XYZ for it. Thank you very much. But I can't demand that of you. And in fact, if anything, I'm already demanding your time. Like, to read a book takes time, and I'm asking you to give your time to read my books. So the least I can do is, make it as easy for you to want to give that time as possible, which was actually the whole value of the paperback at the end of the day. It was this is such a cheap and easy way, and I don't feel like crap after reading it because I didn't spend so much money on it. It hurts so much when you spend like $20, $25, $30 for something that is utter crap. I mean, I remember this was long ago. My husband paid full price for a game once that he absolutely hated. And he was like, I am never doing that again. And he hasn't since. And I've reminded him every time he's like, maybe. I'm like, no. Remember that? It wasn't worth it. And we've kind of fallen into that a lot with this perceived value and demanding value out of people's efforts. It's like, no, your efforts are your own. Your time is your own. It's how you choose to use it. Now, when you get a job, obviously you owe your employer your time and effort to their specification, but that's a contract you signed with your employer. You, the audience, are not my employers, and I am not your employee. I am merely someone out there who I would like you to give a chance on. Even if you were my patron, I wouldn't owe you anything because it's up to you to decide if you want to patronize me. That's how that works. So I'm really tired of this idea of perceived value and you gave it your all, so therefore we must reward that. That's the real problem why we have all this crappy books out here, because we have this society that said things like, oh, you tried, isn't that great? No, freaking hell, can we stop with this? It's not good enough to try. Granted, try, please, for the love of God, try. Don't just say you want to do it. Try it, right? But that's on you. That's entirely on you. And if you choose not to try, fine. And if you choose to try, but it goes nowhere, at least you tried. The value of something is only what other people have decided the value is. And frankly, there is something I have noticed when people have said, but no one's buying this if it doesn't have that higher price tag. Yeah, except you're only courting people who are willing to buy at that higher price tag. The rest of the audience has actually disappeared and is nowhere to be found because they were never going to buy it at that higher price tag. So it's a difference of if there's 100 people who would buy your book at $5, there's only 25 people who are going to buy it at 25 people who are going to buy it at $20. And you're saying, but I need to get the 25 people. Well, what about the other 75? And it is hard because you do see the numbers, right? If I sell my book at $10, which I'm doing, I only really make $2 off of it. If I sold it at $20, I make $12. And yeah, it's hard to be wow, I'm losing $12. But I'm not, because you know what? No one's buying the book as it is. So I'm not making anything. I'm not getting the $12. If I sell it at $10, I'm more likely to sell copies, and then I'll make $2. $2 is more than nothing. And really, I want those people back. I want to be able to read books like that. I miss the paperback a lot. I miss this idea that I could just like find something off the shelf, give it a whirl, and if I didn't like it, well, I didn't like waste a whole hour's worth of paycheck on it, you know? And I miss that like cheap media. Like whatever happened that too. It's just quick and easy and entertaining and simple. And there's nothing more to it. And I want my books to just be that, to be enjoyable with nothing deeper. And if there is something deeper, I want it to be organic to the story, not something that's got shoehorned in and crap. And okay, now I'm getting off topic, but still, if that's what I want, I can only imagine there's so many other people who want the same. And we keep saying no one's reading. Where are the audience? Where is everyone? And we're like, well, they're doing this or they're doing that. And I'm like, but they're not doing that either. A lot of people are just rotting their brains on TikTok and YouTube. And, well, I mean, keep watching. But I think they would read if they had reason to read. If they had a book that grabbed them from the first chapter onward. And if it was accessible, if it was like cheap or free or something, right? But when you have to put so much time and effort into reading something and money, you're not going to do it. So they're out there. The readers are out there. They will come back if they have something to come back to. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I don't know if I'm succeeding, but hey, it's free, so give it a shot.